Camille, your video is working, but your microphone is not working.
Is it not working now? Is it working now? You don't hear me?
Yes, Camille, we do. I do hear you.
Okay, good.
Dama, can you test your sound as well?
Sure, it should be working.
Okay, perfect. You can all use the presenters chat if you have any questions that you want to share among the speakers, and as well with us, the admins, so Christophe and I.
Just in case.
Okay, I'm uploading the video.
Sorry, can I test again? You can hear me?
We do hear you, Camille.
Yes,
Okay, because there was a strange notification saying it was not. Okay, I'm muting myself now.
Hi, Jacopo. Jacopo just arrived. Jacopo is also on screen, no? As well as Jean.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jean. Could you test your camera as well, please?
Yeah, set the cameras off.
Okay, we see Jacopo.
Good.
You should when you well, Christophe, can you take it over, please?
So can you hear me okay? Good.
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent.
Oh la la.
Every day, thousands of European research.
Hello, can people hear me here?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know what is happening because I'm trying to upload the video.
Every day, thousands of European researchers spend hours in their labs, on their computers, and in their project facilities to find solutions to the many important challenges we face today. But how can we turn their science and research results into innovations? Innovations which are valuable for our economy and society, and which contribute to a better and sustainable future. It's not an easy question to answer, but what if we created a platform a place that allows researchers and innovators to showcase their results, where they can network and forge partnerships, a place where they can be discovered by investors seeking opportunities, where politicians can look for valuable insights, somewhere where these results flourish into innovations and contribute to a sustainable life on our planet. Welcome to the Horizon Results Platform, a place where results matter.
The place to find all of the EU-supported innovations, to find companies that have received a lot of funding to advance their idea to a level where hopefully it can benefit from investments.
Even though it has been recently launched, it has already
It seems we have a little problem with I don't know if you can hear me, just show me if you can hear me okay. So I propose that we start the session. Dear members of the panel, dear participants, welcome to this session, Horizon Result Platform, Making Results Matter. Today we are going to tackle some of the challenges that researchers and startups face on their way to market and explore how the Horizon Result Platform, together with various stakeholders, can support them to further develop and grow. I'm Stefan Dong. I'm the head of the Common Data and Knowledge Management Unit in DG Research and Innovation, and I will be your host today. So let me start by providing a little bit of context on the Horizon Result Platform, and then I will leave the floor to our guests to introduce themselves and to launch the discussion to make results matter. Do not hesitate to comment or raise technical issues you may have in the chat. My colleagues will be taking care. And if you have questions to ask to our panel members, you can propose questions via the Q&A tab on the right side of the window. And during the Q&A part at the end of that session, we will address as many questions as possible. So the Horizon Result Platform is an initiative of the Research and Innovation family, DG in the European Commission. It was piloted initially during the R&I days of 2019. So we are now celebrating its 1-year anniversary. So happy birthday, Horizon Result Platform. One important thing, the Horizon Result Platform shall not be seen as a standalone component. It's part of a global valorization ecosystem, integrating support and networking services to help promising EU-funded research and innovative solutions that address our economic, environmental, and societal challenges. We want to help our beneficiaries make the most out of their results, both in terms of developing new solutions and products, but also to support evidence-based policy making throughout Europe. The platform can be accessed, of course, free of charge by all the relevant stakeholders, be them investors, public authorities, corporations, policymakers, all those interested to discover the potential collaboration and the business opportunities that our results can offer. So the Horizon Result Platform will become the reference. That's what we want for the valorization of Horizon Europe results. It will be a key tool to promote Green Deal solution, and it's already used to support results in the context of the COVID-19 crisis, for instance. So glad to have among us today for our discussion entrepreneurs and researchers, investors and advisors, and Horizon National Contact Points. So let me invite our guests to come in. Camille, the floor is yours.
Okay, good. Now I'm unmuted. Hello, everyone. So my name is Camille Épinay, and I'm working at Hub Brussels, the Brussels Agency for Business Support. It's a regional agency, and I'm working with 2 hats. On first hat, I'm National Contact Point for Horizon 2020's Social Challenge 5, which is a part of the program dedicated to climate action, environment, raw materials, and resource efficiency. And with my second hat, I'm part of the Enterprise Europe Network, which is a network supporting SME to grow and innovate. So in both positions, I'm advising entrepreneurs from the environment and the circular economy sector, and glad to be here to participate in this session. Thank you.
Many thanks, Camille. Up to you, Eugene.
Oh, hi there. I'm Eugene Sweeney. I'm a senior advisor for the European IP Help Desk and the director of Iambic Innovation Limited, a company I founded 20 years ago, which focuses on research commercialization. So I've been working as a practitioner in this area for over 40 years now. I did my first startup a very long time ago while I was a researcher. Then I worked in the early micro network industry, responsible for acquiring, developing new technology and taking it to market. And then for 11 years, I worked as an early stage technology investment manager. So I've been on both sides of the fence and sitting on the top of it. So I'm currently also an active member of the International and European Standards Committees, which are developing guidance standards for innovation management and IP management. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Eugene. Welcome. Jacopo?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is Jacopo Losso. I'm a Director of Secretariat for EBAN, the European Business Angel Network. This is the trade body, the trade association representing in Europe the business angel and other early stage investor community. In a nutshell, we're a network that connects the investor clubs and investor groups active across Europe with the main purpose of enabling our members to network with each other and ultimately invest with each other and syndicate deals. We also do quite a lot of work when it comes to assisting great companies in finding investors, and we organize for that purpose a lot of events where we can showcase exciting startups to the community. IBAN is a trade body. It's based in Brussels because we want to promote policies and regulations that can incentivize either early stage investment or startup entrepreneurship. And last but not least, to enable that activity, we're quite involved as well in market research and in publications that talk about angel investment. So we represent roughly a community in Europe that counts over 30,000 private individual investors that invest in startups, typically at a seed stage or at a very early moment of their development. So great pleasure to be with you, and look forward to the discussion.
So thanks a lot, Jacopo, and welcome to this discussion. And last but not least, Jama, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie, for having me. So my name is Jama. I'm a medical doctor and founder of Symptoma. I founded my first company in 1999. At the age of 16, I studied medicine in Austria, and I performed research for my thesis at the Yale University. And Symptoma is the digital health assistant. So the problem that we're addressing are misdiagnoses, because 1 in 7 diagnoses are misdiagnoses. And how it works, so patients and doctors enter the symptoms into our system, and they receive a list of matching causes sorted by probability. And then our AI is asking further questions in order to uncover further symptoms that you might have. So it's working with symptoms, it's working with free text, it's even working with keywords that are not symptoms at all, such as undercooked eggs. Then our system is asking for abdominal pain, nausea, and suggesting salmonella food poisoning. It even works with fun keywords, such as if you're entering Elon Musk as a keyword, our AI is asking you for manic behavior. Probably right. And yeah, so Symptoma is probably the first and only viable solution in this market with the by far highest diagnostic accuracy rates demonstrated in internal, external peer-reviewed studies, for instance, also by Pfizer. And also for COVID, we have demonstrated a 96% accuracy rate. This study is under peer review by Nature. And the second study is just right now in press by JMIR, the biggest medical informatics journal worldwide, where we have also really surprising results comparing our COVID solution, the only AI-based one, with all the others, for instance, from the CDC.
So thanks a lot, Jama. We'll be back on your experience. So let's first try to identify the key challenges. And the Horizon Europe platform encourages framework program participants to highlight their needs and to identify the key stakeholders they need to develop their projects, such as investors, business partners, potential customers, researchers, academia, policymakers. So when it comes to investors and researchers' endeavor to bring their innovation closer to the market and seize the growth opportunity, what are the main struggles, the main challenges from each of your perspective as entrepreneur, as NCP, as innovation advisor, as IP experts that you see? Camille, do you want to start with this question?
Yes, so maybe I'm more answering here as NCP, National Contact Point for Horizon 2020. Often it's true that the exploitation plan is a common weakness of Horizon 2020 proposals prepared by researcher, or I had a case recently by a non-business organization, non-enterprise and organization. And I think that here, maybe providing basic training about what is a business plan could help, as myself benefited from such training, and it did help. For innovators, entrepreneurs, often it's really an issue to access finance to further develop the innovation. Sometimes they turn to Horizon 2020 collaborative projects like the Green Deal at the moment, but actually, there's a bit of misunderstanding. Actually, the best funding for them is the EIC accelerator, but it's really demanding in terms of disrupting innovation. An SME could still join a consortium for Horizon 2020, but they should not think that they will get funding for their own projects, but then they will rather, they can contribute to help a consortium, for instance, led by researcher, to bring their results closer to the market or to implement a very demonstration projects. And I did see also in my career that actually it helps for an SME to work with a local university, for instance. And it can really be a win-win situation, actually, to bring the results closer to the market.
Thanks a lot, Camille. Eugene? Eugene, I think we can't hear you. Yeah.
Hello? Okay, sorry about that. I was just saying, well, from the IP perspective, I think one of the main challenges is to develop a credible strategy for the use and protection of the IP. By IP, I mean research results or other creative or inventive outputs. And if this is well addressed, then I think it could significantly improve the chances of raising investment and developing successful commercial innovations and successful businesses. So by IP protection, what I mean is IP rights, such as patents, design rights, copyright, and others. It's not only about patents, as well as trade secrets and know-how. And the protection you get with these rights is the legal right to prevent other people from using your IP for commercial use, unless, of course, you come to an agreement. So protecting your IP not only helps you in a sort of defensive sort of way by helping you to keep your competitive advantage, it also enables you to grow the business by allowing others to use your IP commercially. For example, by licensing it to other companies operating in different geographical territories or different market sectors. On the other hand, you may decide it makes strategic sense not to protect your IP, to make it open and freely available, maybe to build a community of users with your business model relying on added value products and services. I'll just give these two different examples of the sort of strategic commercial decision making that needs to be considered when you're looking at the use and protection of your IP. And I think if you've got a sound strategy for the use and protection of the IP, of course you have to take into account the wider market situation and the opportunities, then it could significantly enhance your chances of raising the investment you need to turn research results into successful innovations, particularly because it gives confidence to investors that they have a better chance of getting a return on their investment. So investment is a risky business. You can't avoid the risks, but you can try and mitigate them. And IP protection is one way of doing that.
Thanks a lot, Eugene. Indeed, IP is one of the key elements when we talk about going to investors and going to market. Jacopo, can you tell us how you see these hurdles and challenges?
I mean, being an entrepreneur is definitely a tough job, and I'm sure Jama can talk a lot about the struggles it entails at starting your business, growing it, and ultimately bringing it to a level of success. But just continuing a little bit what Eugene was saying about the investors and why they are getting involved with these projects. So obviously, these are individuals that are investing their wealth into these companies, into startups, and as investors, they are expecting to make a return, hopefully a decent one, on the investment they have made. And I think this is a little bit the main kind of issue a lot of investors tend to have when approaching, especially first-time entrepreneurs that are doing for the first ever time their fundraising, is that they tend to not present the business and the company and the investment opportunity to investors. They tend to be more focused, more say, on the product. They have developed all of the technological characteristics that set it apart from the competitors, or maybe they focus quite a lot about the market and the big problems they are trying to address, but without presenting, I would say, a very clear idea when it comes to building a profitable business venture and the return that the investor could maybe think about making in the coming, let's say, 5 to 10 years from date of investment. So that is, I would say, the main kind of thing the investors tend to be a little bit more complaining about when they come across first-time entrepreneurs. That said, I think Europe does an excellent job at helping our entrepreneurs get to a so-called investment-ready level. IBAN has the pleasure of working with the Commission on a few projects that accelerate startups that want to go from their idea to something a little bit more, and we provide training to them. So I think that the role of Europe here in training and mentoring entrepreneurs, first-time entrepreneurs especially, in going from not just the idea, but actually creating around that idea a profitable business is something that we definitely applaud the Commission on, and that we're also very committed as an association in doing for the benefit of both the startup entrepreneurs, but also for the benefit of the investors that can have a easier connection and easier time at finding a good investment opportunity.
Thanks a lot, Jacopo. Very interesting, and indeed, understanding the views of the investors and how they think and how they see the things is key. Jama, from your experience, tell us a bit what were the highest hurdles, if any. You've been successful.
Yeah, I mean, I founded my first business in 1999 and Symptoma in 2006 together with my co-founder, Thomas. So for us, it's already the second joint company. And the first company was also quite a success, reaching a quarter of our target group each month. And with the team size of 100 and also operating at the profit. So to address maybe your earlier question, so as an entrepreneur, you're running a company, and from our perspective, this company should add a value to the society at large, at least to a specific group of people. And this value should be so big that people are willing to pay you for this. And on the other side, this problem that you're addressing should be so significant for yourself that you are actually allowing yourself to undergo all the stress. Because why should you do that otherwise? So for us, the main challenges really started in the beginning. I mean, we have to say, of course, as innovators, we were quite naive. We thought that Symptoma as a symptom tracker would work really fast. It's just easy. By the end of my med school, I would be finished. I would have sold the company and become a real doctor. And then we figured out, well, there's a reason why companies have failed at it since this 1970s, because it's really hard research. And so far, we are the only one that have a viable solution for this. And so in the beginning, of course, the expert actually told us, like, before we got our first funding, a 6-figure amount, there was a review by a university professor, and he said essentially that what we're doing is not possible and we are not going to make it anyways. So why bother? And so this was standing in the way of our first funding. So the culture in Europe, you have to say, is more conservative towards new ideas and bringing research to market, because you first always looking at the risk and what can go wrong. And there's a lot that can go wrong. This chances are really slim that you succeed. Whereas in the US, you would only see the chances and underestimate the risk. However, I think so we still made it that we got that funding, by the way. And then it turned out that he had an alternative approach, like a call center for doctors, doctors calling a call center and then getting the information that they need. So it was a competing idea from his point of view, but he wanted then to collaborate with us. So it's all fine. But then what was the biggest challenge? Well, tackling the research during at least one financial crisis, still operating at a profit since beginning, and having this mindset, which is in Europe, failure is not an option, but an embarrassment. So in the US, it's fail fast, right? So, and this position does in a sweet spot, you have to say, because we didn't want to fail, so the perseverance was really high. So you have to imagine 14 years of research and development. If Jacobo had been an investor in 2006, I think like a couple of years, like 5 years after, you would have been desperate with us, wouldn't you? But research sometimes takes more time, and also the markets take more time to mature in order for you to flourish. And now we are a really growing company. We have 70 people worldwide, 30 employed in Austria. We are growing rapidly. We are at the forefront of this COVID crisis because we have the only AI worldwide that is screening citizens for a COVID-19 risk with a really high accuracy. And we already see the trends without a PCR being needed. So we see trends in the countries, and this is also going to be published. And we are also now having a third COVID-19 public a study underway where we are doing a risk classification in a prospective setting. So we say that you have a high risk, and then an actual PCR test is being performed, and then we try to correlate and see how good the match is.
Thanks a lot.
So,
yeah.
So it would be the perseverance, probably, in one word.
Okay. So you didn't know it was impossible, and that's the reason why you made it, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jama. So, I mean, many thanks indeed. A number of challenges to overcome. The Horizon Result platform has currently 1,300 results, innovative technologies and solutions from across Europe and across industries. So, Jacopo, for researchers and entrepreneurs in the Horizon Result platform who are looking for financing and for investments, could you tell us what the investors are looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, I would say 3 things plus 1. So these are the usual 3 plus 1 items that all investors look for. The plus 1 is actually a prerequisite, I would say, for any startup investment that they do, and that really is the passion of the founder or of the 2 founders, if there's more than one, and their, let's say, determination to bring their idea to the next level. That passion element is so important and crucial because the journey is going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride. And if you really believe in what you're doing as an entrepreneur, you can keep on going even when things get a bit more tough and difficult. So passion sustains a bit the resilience of the entrepreneur, and it can transpire even in the Horizon Results platform, depending on you as an entrepreneur, how you present yourself and your ideas. Definitely the 1, 2, 3 then are, I would say, for most investors in this order, the team. So the group of individuals that form the core team that is developing the company and growing the company. So they tend to be teams that are complementary in terms of skill set, meaning that there are people that are maybe more on the technical side, people more on the commercial side, but there is a healthy mix of individuals that can complement each other and that have also to some extent worked already with each other, so they're used to coordinating and doing big efforts, even if in a small lean structure in the early days. And then the second and the third depends a bit. I would say that for a very deep tech, science-oriented business, the defensibility of the technology is quite key. I would say sooner or later, competition will catch up to you if you end up doing something worthwhile. Hence, having proper intellectual property rights, protecting the core elements of your startup business is crucial. So definitely worthwhile. And here again, Europe does an excellent job at providing all of the support needed for the entrepreneurs to protect their IP. And then the third, which can differentiate in order depending on what kind of business, but I would say the size and the growth rate of the market you are addressing. Meaning, if it is a sizable market that is hopefully growing, it becomes more realistic for you as a startup to create a decent, how can I say, size of your customer base within that market in order to become profitable. So you should be, I would say, as an entrepreneur, trying to launch your technology or your product or service in a market that is of large size. That's very generic indication. Some investors like to quantify what that large size is. Some say like at least a few €100 million in market size is the minimum threshold. But I would say also the growth trends in that market. So keep an eye if your industry is an industry that is growing well, or if it is an industry on the decline. Nobody really likes to invest in industries that are on the decline and on the verge of disappearing in the near future. So that's the 3+1, with the passion being really the prerequisite to anything you do. Make sure this transpires very well on the Horizon Results platform. It's not easy. I understand it's not easy to communicate all these things that I mentioned, but try to really put the emphasis on the passion, on the team, on how protected your technology is and how big this market you're going to service is or will be in the near future.
Many thanks, Jacopo. Very useful insight. So, I mean, we are witnessing situations where EU-funded technologies and solutions seems to be hindered in their way to exploitation due to unclear status of their IP and commercialization rights among the different participants in the consortium, for instance. Eugene, how important is the IP management when you want to access investors and to go to the market? Eugene, you're mute. Yeah.
I shouldn't be mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Just following on from what Jacopo said about the importance of having people with passion in entrepreneurship. I mentioned the recent innovation management guidance standards, and intellectual property management is part of that. And I mention it because managing innovations is not the same as managing other businesses. There's a huge element of risk that you need to take account of. Now, all the research outputs, whether they're early or late stage, are going to need further investment in order to develop the research results, for example, into innovations, then make the market ready and take them to market and then grow the business. And it's not always just financial, it's also time, facilities, sweat, and so on. But no one is going to invest unless they can see a return on their investment, as has already been said. So when you think about the word investment, you should immediately think about the return on the investment. And effective management and protection of IP, as Jacob has already said, plays a big role in convincing an investor or commercial partner that they've got a good chance of getting a return on their investment. So it's very important that when you're approaching investors or commercial partners, that you make it very clear what the IP, the status of the IP rights are, as well as how potential commercial partners can acquire those rights that they need to access and use the IP for commercial purposes. So intellectual property is the key asset in any innovation or any business. And so the management in EU-funded projects is extremely important, and it starts before the project even begins, when you're considering what background IP you're going to use to build it on, and whether that's going to be needed for commercializing the project outputs. Of course, you have to manage it during the project. That actually doesn't stop when the project ends, because the project results and any IP rights need to be managed after the project ends, because that's when all the results come together. And it's not only about having someone to transfer the rights to commercialization partners, but also the ongoing maintenance of the IP protection, and hopefully, if you're successful, managing the distribution of revenues back to the creators. And the problem is that typical EU-funded projects involve several partners. So the innovations that come out of them, the products or services, are usually bundles of results from different partners, some of which might be jointly owned. So the consortium needs to think about how it's going to manage these bundles of IP. They need to develop a strategy for their use and protection if there are commercial opportunities. And I think most importantly, to find a way to clearly present the status of the IP and any associated rights to investors and commercial partners with a clear point of contact in order that they can negotiate and agree terms for commercial use, not only during the project, but after the project finishes as well, for the longer term. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Eugene. That's, as we said, indeed very, very important. I see that some of our speakers are appearing and disappearing, so I hope we will be able to reach all of you. For this last tour, I would like to ask you, what are the, you've given already advices and tips, and you have already give good hints how to get where you want, or what are the key ingredients. But I would like to ask you for some more tips, if you have quickly, and also the services that the people can talk to, can rely to move forward. Can you start, maybe, Jacopo? Jacopo?
Yes. Stefan, I lost you a second. You said, could you help us do a few more tips?
Yes,
and
with
then...
a few tips, if you have, and the services that can help the innovators and the entrepreneurs on their way to market.
So absolutely. So first off, I think to really take advantage of what is offered by the EU, especially in terms of investment readiness preparation. There are numerous projects that I'm sure you will be able to scout and find that, free of charge, mentor you as an entrepreneur on how to present your business to investors. Secondly, to leverage also the events that both the EU, but also, quite frankly, that other players such as IBAN offer for the startups, where they give you access to finance in the scope of events, usually, where you can present your business. So the tips and tricks are basically get out there, take advantage of what you can that is being offered thanks to the EU, make use of those opportunities to learn and to be seen. Then I would definitely suggest to take advantage of non-dilutive funding that is also here again made possible by the EU. And I think somebody mentioned already the EIC. There's other grants that also exist, but try to explore those opportunities. And then once you have tapped into as much as possible all of these services and all of these offerings, which are given again to you free of charge, start considering applying for investment and go local first. Usually your first early stage money will tend to be local, will tend to come from close to you. So go look for an angel network that is in your city or in your region or in your country, and check what their investment criteria are, and send your pitch deck, send your application to them to be looked at and evaluated for maybe possible investment. So I hope that can help in a nutshell in terms of tips and tricks.
Yeah, many thanks, Jacopo. Eugene, do you want to add on some clues how to deal with these IP questions? I think you're muted, Eugene. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, I don't know. The first thing I should say is that people don't buy technology. They buy products and services which satisfy their needs or their wants or relieves their pain. So when you're approaching investors, don't start trying to sell the science and technology. That will have to come later, of course, as they do their due diligence. Try to understand the motivations to buy. And then you position your pitch around that, and of course, taking into account the wider market. And that applies whoever your customer is, whether it's an end user, whether it's an investor, or a commercial partner, or indeed a research funder. So as we've already mentioned, IP, project results are key components in these innovative products and services. So managing them and having a sound strategy for their protection is important. And as far as services to help, the European IP Help Desk can provide a lot of help in this respect. The IP Help Desk is a free of charge service of the European Commission, and it provides help and advice for researchers and businesses for all things related to IP management and strategies for IP protection and exploitation. So that includes frontline support through a helpline, through online and on-site training, more online at the moment. And they cover a wide range of topics from geographical indications or copyrighted music through to webinars on special topics, such as the one next week, which is on IP in health and pharmaceuticals in a time of COVID. So there's an extensive library you can consult, fact sheets, case studies, templates for maybe non-disclosure agreements and so on. And you can sign up to receive newsletters or bulletins which focus on specific areas in more depth, such as the one on licensing published last year. So really, to summarize, I think the main message is as you prepare to approach investors or commercial partners, understand what motivates your customer, whether they're an investor, a partner, an end user, and build around that an IP strategy. Manage your IP rights and make sure you clearly present the status and how the commercial partners can access it and use it. And make sure you can do this after the project ends as well, so it doesn't all fall off the shelf.
Thanks a lot, Eugene. Camille, your hints and services that can help investors.
Actually, I would focus on helping the entrepreneurs because that's my job, if I may. Innovators. I have 3 tips, and here I will answer rather as advisor of the Enterprise Europe Network. My first advice is actually contact your local EN office because they can help you. For instance, in Enterprise Europe Brussels, we organize White Pitch to prepare EIC Accelerator applicants for pitching in front of investors, and also for the settings. We also organize a pitch session to meet investors and also help you doing capacity building, for instance. Second advice, more related to the topic of today, the Horizon Result platform. If you are in the case at the end of a EU 2020 project, think about who can help you for your next step and prepare very well your profile, putting yourself in their shoes. As Eugene Sweeney was saying, actually, how can you solve their own needs and pain and yours at the same time? So there is a win-win. So write your profile having both in mind your needs, but also the needs from the people you are asking for support. And it's the same there are actually lots of EN brokerage events that are being organized. Same, it's very important to really be clear about what can you offer, what are you looking for, explain this very clearly in your profile. And once you have a very good profile, then you can use and take the best advantage of all the virtual brokerage events that are being organized at the moment. For instance, you can enjoy Smart City Barcelona right from your home office, thanks to virtual events. So do take advantage of all these opportunities.
Thanks a lot, Camille and Jama. I mean, quickly, the tip that from the one that went through,
So the basic one is, if you're founding a company, you have to run it. And running means not being dependent on outside money. So you have to find the way to stay and to be profitable. Of course, the investments absolutely make sense if you want to hit the boost button and you want to really accelerate. But you should not go into an investment round with, from a position of weakness. So you do not start boosting and wasting a lot of money and then try to just somehow find money from an investor and hoping it works out. So the buzzword burn rate is quite funny for us because we don't have any, and you shouldn't have. Unless you're actually pressing this investment button. So this would be my advice, to actually run the company, and then also following up on Camille and Eugene. So the investment is not the goal. Your goal should be to find a problem worth solving, and then focus on solving it really well. And Eugene also said it. This will be not enough. This is a prerequisite, but if you want to reap your investment, you have to protect it later as well. So you have to have a strategy for that.
Thanks a lot, Jama. And I mean, as I indicated in the introduction, we are building support and networking initiatives around the Horizon Result platform to help our beneficiaries. We have started this summer running a new set of services for market readiness via what we call the Horizon Result Booster, building sound business plan, go-to-market initiative, enhanced team skills and competences. And we have launched with our colleagues of the European Innovation Council a COVID-19 e-pitching initiative for the most mature results in our portfolio. So Jama, you've been part of this initiative. Can you tell us quickly a bit about your experience and what's next for Symptoma?
Yeah, it helps us. It helped us a lot because the European Commission essentially listed and featured Symptoma's COVID-19 solution as one of the first COVID solutions on the HRP platform, and essentially led to the following. So the European Commission contracted us to help fighting this crisis. The first governments contracted us, cities such as the city of Vienna, insurance companies, hospitals, more than 80 other companies, also big companies. And essentially that our chatbot test for COVID-19 essentially is eliciting a PCR test for citizens. So you could do our test and then you get a PCR test, or you do our test and an emergency car is actually driving to your doorstep. So the point being, what you did, what the HRP Horizon Results Platform team actually did, is leveraging us so much, giving us significance and weight that actually led to all those points that I mentioned. So we really could build up to this. And regarding the pitching event, so a few days ago, another investor, probably from this event, also contacted us. So it brings us quite a lot to have a stage.
Okay, but thanks a lot, Jama. We are super happy that this was useful for you. We hope to have many other Jamas in the next months and years that will be able to say that they have been through those services and that they have that it has helped them move forward. So many thanks to you. I would like to see if we have some questions from the audience. Do not hesitate to add some. Maybe one. I don't know who can tackle that. I will leave it to you to choose, but. As a result author, one question that comes quite often is, if I put my results in a public platform like the Horizon Result platform, I mean, are there IPR risks, and how can I handle that? How should I manage that? Maybe Eugene, you can start, and if anyone wants to add on that.
I see some unmuted. Good. If for most forms of intellectual property right protection, other than maybe patents, the right comes into existence automatically. It's only in the case of patents where, and a couple of others where you need to register for that right. But the specific rule for patents is that the details about the invention must not have been previously disclosed in the public. So the only conflict there is to ensure that before you make something public, you've checked if you need to patent it. And again, this only applies to technical inventions. If you need to patent it, then patent it first. And then if you publish it, there should be no issues because it's already protected. In the case of copyright material, for example, and it's different between different countries, but in general, the legal right is yours if you can prove that you were the first to create it. So because the legal right comes into existence automatically, for example, with copyright in software code or design rights, it doesn't mean that you don't do anything. You need, as part of your research management, to ensure that you keep good records of creation. In the case of a patent, of course, you file, and you have to make sure you haven't previously published. But once you've filed a patent, you're free to publish, and in fact, the patent will itself be published, whether it's granted or not. So you just have to be careful. I don't think there's a conflict. You just have to be careful when you make information available that you've actually checked whether perhaps it's patentable or whether it makes strategic sense that you want to keep it as a trade secret, for example, and just go through that strategic decision making. Thereafter, of course, you want to tell people about it.
Thanks a lot, Eugene. I mean, do you want to add up, Jacopo, Camille, or Gemma on this question? Okay, I guess, Eugene, that the IP help desk can help the beneficiaries that would have doubt. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so maybe that's an advice, and we will publish also in the Horizon Prism platform interviews and information to help our users find the right way and make the right decision about this question. One other question that came from the audience, maybe for you to start with, Jacopo or Camille, is just let me find it out. Well, yeah, in situation and in period of crisis like the one that we are in, what is your advice if you want to apply for? Okay, the question is on grants and funding, but allow me to extend it to further financing and to find investors in these difficult circumstances.
I can answer for the grant part. For instance, I think my key answer will be target the right funding, because, for instance, the H2020 Green Deal call is certainly not the right fit for a startup struggling with cash flow. Don't apply there, but rather connect, for instance, to the national and regional public investors in your country and region, as was mentioned by Jacopo earlier, because actually they will soon get funding from the EU recovery plan, and they will get funding through this to help you. So rather connect with them. So again, and here your NCP or your EN local office can help you signpost to the right actor fitting your own needs. So hence connect with them.
Thanks a lot, Camille. Jacopo.
Well, let me say that we really don't know too much about the pandemic, how long it will last, but we can probably guess that customers will behave differently, clients will behave differently, and business will also adapt to their needs and service them, obviously, in a different way, although we don't really yet know exactly all of these details. I guess if you do a small comparison to the 2008 crisis and what angel investors ended up investing right after that crisis, I think most of the companies that they were investing in were doing products, doing services that were not the nice to have type of product or service for the client. So let's say investing in less frivolous things and investing in more important and impactful businesses. I would assume that in the future, a lot of investors will be looking at how businesses can stay relevant in a pandemic scenario. So how can they be so-called pandemic proof? And how eventually they can pivot their businesses, if they are already existing before the pandemic, to be more resilient in that type of scenario. So difficult still to say, but we're probably going to be expecting companies that are changing the way they service the client, the consumer. Maybe that's going to be more online type of interaction as opposed to physical interaction. and probably we'll be seeing more companies that are providing, let's say, answers to new needs we may have as individuals. So I know that this is still a bit vague, but I think it would be kind of weird if I told you the single bullet solution to what we can expect.
Thanks a lot, Jacopo. Jama, I mean, the solution you're pushing for right now is part of the solution to the crisis. So, I mean, you're not somehow subject to this question. But any advice on your side how to push forward your ideas when maybe sometimes financing is more difficult to reach, and when sometimes, I mean, the crisis is creating a bit of nervosity around maybe?
Yeah, so I mean, as Symptoma, we have worked 14 years in order to establish our solution that is helping fighting the pandemic. So what I would advise is what we see quite often during the last months is that companies that have nothing to do with this industry, to say, they're just jumping on this opportunity. So I do see a risk if you're as short-sighted, if you're focusing on a crisis, whereas it is not actually on your roadmap of your own company, because you have also to look behind the crisis. And there it might be more advisable to actually stick to your guns instead of doing something half-heartedly, like over a weekend a project and saying, "Oh, I'm fighting the crisis." No, the crisis is not everything. It is really important and impactful, but there's also a life after the crisis, and we will need many different solutions for many different problems as well. You have to still make sure that you survive until then, of course.
Thanks a lot, Jama. Eugene, did you want to comment on that question also?
No, I think they've covered it.
Okay, thanks a lot. I mean, dear participants, dear panelists, I think we are coming towards the end of this session, and the time now is to wrap up. We've been discussing the main hurdles and challenges that the innovators, and researchers are confronted to. We talked about IPR management. We talked about the key elements that needs to be done in that context. We also talk about patience and how you can sell your team and your capacity and your plans to potential investors. So I hope you found here some inspiration and some interesting tips how to move forward, and also some links towards the right services to do so. So you know that we are doing our best to help all the beneficiaries of Horizon 2020 and tomorrow Horizon Europe to find their way to market, to find their way to policymakers. Of course, the Horizon Result platform we've been discussing today continue to evolve and to improve. There will be soon a new landing page, new result presentation, a more intuitive profile form, and new fields to enhance the results towards targeted audience. And soon we will launch the Horizon Result Platform TV. We are preparing additional guidance so that you can find here information to help you with the IP, to help you presenting your results, to help you getting to investors and be prepared to talk to them. So I hope to see you there very soon. Thanks again to Hugh, Eugene, Jacopo, Camille, Jama. Jama, my special thanks to you. I know that you had a very special weekend and you were with us today. That was your honeymoon, if I'm not mistaken. So thanks a lot for joining, nevertheless, and all my best wishes for the next 50 years or how many you want. And many thanks to all of you who have been here today with us. Have a good day and enjoy the Research and Innovation Days. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.